All right, so what are we looking at? We got victory point track, round the outside, round the outside, round the outside. Then we have worker placement. That's what this game is all about. So we have, like I said, the victory point track, but there are 14 worker placement spots out here on the main board. So if you take a look, main board, any of these squares out here are victory point spots. I'm sorry, are action selection, i.e. worker placement spots. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. All right. So on our, well, I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but we have the food display over here. So these three spots reference food. So food's food, or vegetarian, vegetables, meat, and then one of each. Then we have the pets. We have the younger pets down here. We have the older pets up here. We have, they're called cages. Nowadays, though, in 2024, we call them enclosures. Or the cages, right there. So we have the two spots there for that. We have basically additions to the enclosures. You can purchase one of those right there. We have the judging track, the exhibition track, which is going to be right there. We have up here the progress board. The progress board is going to do a number of things. It's going to have distant imps coming in from family, coming from far away, that i.e. get more workers. We also have the exhibition that's going to be 2 rounds into the future here as we go along. We have customers, different Dungeon Lord customers that want to buy our pets that will be displayed, and that'll be visible 3 rounds in advance. Then we have endgame scoring, which are these over here. And that's pretty much it. We have artifacts as well, and we have a gold supply there, and that's pretty much everything there. Then we have need cards. They come in 4 varieties, really 5. There's green, there's red, there's yellow, there's purple, and there's wild as well. We have the enclosure deck, we have the add-on deck, and then everybody has their own little tableau right here. So taking a look over here at my tableau, we have room for 4 enclosures, one of which comes printed on the board with a big pile of steaming manure as well. Then everybody has a symmetric player board. It starts with 6 imps available. They are incredibly hard to see on their backgrounds. I know that. I'm sorry. We're going to have to suck it up. I was thinking about switching them to cubes, decided against it. So we have 6 imps, and we have 2 gold coins as well. Then we have a player aid all up here that will talk about the different phases to the round, or to the game, to each round, as it were. We have the distribution of cards, the need cards, and then needs for what your pet needs and what happens if bad things, if you neglect them, or if you don't neglect them, as it were. And then some other little information here as well. We have food storage down here at the bottom for food, and then for meat as well, and then down here for artifacts there. So that's pretty much everything you're looking at, except for mutation tokens, sadness, or there's a better word for that.
Despair.
Is it despair? What are those? Those are, now I want to look it up because it's so depressing. It's such a sad little, they're not, suffering.
Oh.
Suffering tokens is what those are called.
Oh, man, it's even worse. Yeah.
I know, right? Then there is a big pile of manure, and then more coins as well. So that's everything here for this game. But what is it we're trying to do? Well, ultimately, the goal of the game is victory points, and we all have 50 and 100 point markers. The 100 might be ambitious. I'm just saying, we should all be able to hit the 50, feel good about ourselves there. But what we're trying to do is acquire pets, raise them, keep them safe in their various enclosures that we're going to have, present them in exhibitions, which is one of the ways we're going to score points, but the majority of our points are going to come from selling our pets. I know it sounds horrible, but we are, the British band, Pet Shop Boys, Pet Shop Girls, Pet shop folk. Pet shop owners. So we're going to be selling our pets to prospective owners. And that's where we're going to get most of our points. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. All right. All right. So how do you play the game? I don't know. Somebody want to teach it? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Anyway, each round.
Those are like no.
Yeah, I know. It was a whole lot of silence there. The game takes place over 5 rounds. You know it's 5 rounds because right there it shows 5. Then over here we go into final scoring at the end of the 5th round. Okay, cool. So in those 5 rounds, there are a total of 6 phases. The first phase is setup. That's done at the beginning of the game. We're just going to skip it. We'll cover it when we need to at the beginning of round 2. Really, it's not going to impact your decisions in round 1. Phase 2 is we going shopping. So we have 6 imps to begin the game and 2 coins. Imps like to shop. Imps can go shopping by themselves. They can go shopping in groups of imps, or imps can take cash with them. So every group, gold, however, cannot shop by itself because it ain't got no legs. So makes sense, right? And it can't carry home.
Got no legs.
Thank you. During phase 2, we're going to put up our handy dandy little hidey things, shields, and then we're going to make groups of all of our imps. You can make one group of 8. Seems a bit ambitious, a bit overkill, but you could theoretically. You could also make a group of there, just one there, a couple, and then maybe I have a gold coin, and I keep a gold coin set back. So as you can see, during the shopping phase, we are going to do this hidden behind our screens. So I have a group of 3, a group of 2, a group of 1, a group of 1. I can mix and match. There's no limit to the size outside of golden imps, all right? So you could also just do a bunch of 1s if you want it. You get the idea. I don't want to belabor that. You get the clue. Once we are all done, we all say, hey, we be good. Reveal it, and then we look. We compare each other's groups out here. And whoever has the largest group, so let's say Danielle had a group of 4, maybe. Nobody else had a group of 4, even though maybe I'm the first player here. Danielle will send that group of 4 out to one space to go out there and do whatever it is that she wants them to do. You immediately go to the worker placement spot, you acquire whatever it is that you need to acquire, and then if that's the only 4, then we go, who has a group of 3? I have 2 groups of 3, Jess has a group of 3, Danielle does not, but Jackie has 1. Start with the starting player and we go clockwise from there. I send one of my groups of 3 out there, do a thing. Jess does, Jackie does. I have another group of 3. I send that one back out as well. At any time when it's your turn to send a group out, you do not have to send that group out. In lieu of sending that group out, let's say in that example, that group of 3, I had a group of 3 like this. I say, you know what? I've decided against it. That there and those 2 will stay at home. There's going to be a reason why you may want to keep some imps at home, which we'll talk about here more in a little bit. Then I send out my other 3 when it's my turn again. Then we go down who has 2s, doing it clockwise, 1s, and then once we're all done, then we move into the next phase. All that makes sense?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk about the details of the various actions as we go along, but I'm not going to cover that quite yet. The third phase are need cards here. So as we acquire pets, they're going to have needs. We're going to then have to match those needs by playing cards. So let's take a look at all of the pets that are out there. Those are the 4 that are randomly starting the game. They have names, they're cute, and some are cuddlier than others. But the younger pets, you'll know they're younger because only 2 of the markers here, a little bit easier to do it this way, 2 of the markers are visible, 2 of the bars. So those are size 2 or age 2 pets. There, and there. And you'll notice that they are different colors. The older pet is a size 3. So the 2s will always be here, the 3s will go there, so on and so forth. Getting back to need cards. These cards that are shown, or the bars, represent the needs for that various pet. What that means is you're going to draw, when we get to the needs phase, you're going to draw 1 need card for each color that's there. So for instance, with the the eyeball-y plant here, yellow and purple. Now, we all start with a hand of random 4 cards to begin with. So we all start with 1 of each card. But even so, I'm going to draw, if that's my pet, I'm going to draw another yellow and purple card to add it to my hand. So now I have 2 of each of those. Anybody else that has that one will draw a yellow and red, so on and so forth. All that makes sense?
Yep.
Then we are going to secretly, so let's go to that example. Let's say I have acquired this pet. They are in that enclosure. Then I'm going to have to choose 1 purple card and 1 blue card to play face down for that pet, like so. Once all of us have done that for all of our pets, then we're going to flip over our cards, reveal them, and then carry out the needs of those pets. So that is bringing us to phase 4, which is showing off. And honestly, I'm going to cover that in detail when we get there, but I'll cover it briefly now. So these needs correspond to the cards that you play. So taking a look here at let's say the purple card. Purple cards predominantly give magic protection. The yellow cards predominantly fill play needs. The red cards predominantly fill anger issues, if you will. And green cards fill food needs, as well as you can see, manure or poop needs, and others as we go. All right? So let me roll back before we go into showing off, and let's go and talk about the different worker placement spots out here on the main board. All right? So again, on your turn, you're going to place a group and go out there. So let's go and talk about those pets here to start with. You'll notice that the pets all have 2 spots for the bottom row, 1 spot for the top row. Pets are far too valuable to just be given away to groups of imps. Therefore, you'll see that there must be at least 1 imp and 1 gold in a group to be able to acquire a pet. When you go there, take any of the available from that row. Up here, you take the older, there you take the younger. Easy enough there. Enclosures. Enclosures, those are really, really heavy things, so they require 2 imps. So a minimum of 2 imps. You can have 2 imps and a gold. It's a bit of overkill, but you can. You can have 3 imps there. That's fine. They go as a group. They go to a location. You choose one of the enclosures. So let's talk about the enclosures. Each pet requires an enclosure. You got to kind of keep them in. Kind of makes sense. Now, there are 4 corners for each of the enclosures, and some of them have icons in all 4 corners. The top left corner is going to be the physical strength of the enclosure. So that corresponds to red cards. Red cards look a lot like that. So, bitey. So they're going to try and destroy their cage. The more red that your pet has, the more strength that you're going to want that enclosure to have. The number in the top right-hand corner, that might be a better one to show, is basically the equivalent of strength, physical strength, but this is magical strength of your beastie, of the pet that's in there. Okay? So higher number is always good. In the bottom left and bottom right corner, there may or may not be something, but if there is something, that says, hey, there's food available in this. In other words, if it's a vegetarian pet, that vegetarian pet has 1 food need met for it already. If it has a manure symbol, that means it poops once, but it doesn't get a manure token. Okay, easy enough. And then down here on these, that is play requirements filled. Those are yellow cards predominantly. This one has 2 play requirements filled already. So that's what enclosures will do there. Now, one other thing that I should talk about is, let's start on the pets, are their food requirements. Most pets have a food requirement. That one's a vegetarian. That one's a carnivore. That's an omnivore. That's a vegetarian. You get the idea, right? Herbivore, vegetarian. Same. Good. All right, cool. All right, down here in the bottom left-ish corner are the add-ons. When you acquire these, they are going to modify the enclosure that they're attached to. This one provides 1 carnivore need met, and this adds 1 to the strength value, magical strength value of the enclosure. Good. That is all of those 6 locations. These 3, pretty straightforward. take the whatever food is available on the offer. Again, meat, veggies, a little bit of both. Good. This one is artifacts. These are rule breakers for you once you acquire them, and we'll cover these as they come out. There's a bunch of them. I'll go ahead and touch on those before we get started. But you get to choose both of those. Down here, you get to choose one of these, but you get both of them when you go to the artifact location. Down here, you volunteer as a judge. In other words, I don't know, seems a little dishonest, but whatever, you get a bump of 2 for the next judging that's going to take place out here. Okay? So that easy enough. This, you get to welcome relatives from far, far away. What that means is wherever the round marker is, if the round marker is, say, on 3, and you have not gone to that location in a previous round, you will get all 3 of your workers. In other words, the one from round 1, round 2, round 3, you take all of them equal to your marker or the marker and before. Easy enough there. By the way, any relatives you have left over up there at the end of the game will cost you a little bit of points. So keep that in mind. This is the hospital. The hospital does 2 things. Anybody that is sent to the hospital, you get to get back at the end of the round. In addition to that, you get a wild card. So that's a potion which replaces one need of one of your pets. So if I had this pet again and I needed to play a yellow and purple, I could, in lieu of that, play a potion card, and it basically means I either play a yellow or a purple in the potion card, and that's that. All that makes sense? Last spot is judging. I'm sorry, is the sales spot, the platform, sales platform. I'll get it right yet. Only one group can go there, obviously, and when you do, those imps are locked for the remainder of the game until you use them to sell to customers. When we get to the customer selling here in round 3, if anybody that has one on the platform will be able to recall that one to come back home, and they will sell at 3 times the asking price. Otherwise, everybody else sells it 2 times. Gets double the points, you'll get triple.
What if you have 2 imps there?
Then you will use one of them there, and that one will come home. The other one will hang out until the next customer, or the next customer, so on and so forth. That makes sense?
Yes.
All right, good. All right, so those are all the worker placement spots on the board. So again, setup is just prepping the board. That's phase 1. Phase 2, go shopping. Hide your dudes, put your imps, get them ready, then send them out in groups going around the table based on size. Phase 3, need cards. Draw need cards and set them down for your various pets, like so, there. And then you meet the needs. Those are not the best ones to, actually, you know what? I will go with those. Those actually are. All right, then phase 4 is showing off. So first off, at the beginning or the end of need cards, the beginning of showing off, everybody's got to show their work. And what I mean by that is, did you play the cards that you're supposed to? Yes. Okay, cool. I got one of each, and that manure token is there. Then I have to evaluate, have I met the needs of that pet? Well, the 2 needs are disease and play. Okay, so what do these mean? And I'm actually going to go over the majority of these. And all of those are shown right here, but I'll cover these 2 first, and then I'll work my way back from there. Disease. Disease usually is a bad thing. Disease, 1 disease need, plus the number of manure tokens that are in the enclosure and or manure cards that you've played. If that number is 2 or less, nothing happens, boom, done. So you'll see, I have 1 manure in there, 1 disease, that need is met, okay, nothing bad happens, cool, done. A play need, well, this enclosure has no play requirements met, so I need to meet that requirement of play. How do I do that? You remember those imps that I chose to not go shopping? I take one of those imps and I put it between 2 orthogonally adjacent enclosures, or in this case, either there or there. 1 imp can play with 2 animals. As it is, I only have 1 pet. I have 1 play need. We're met. We're good. Awesome. If I had another pet that had a play need, that 1 imp would take care of it. Awesome. Done. That makes sense?
Yes.
All right. So now let's go ahead and take a look in detail at the other requirements. So starting at the top, that's a food. You got to have the right type of food, whether it's carnivore or vegetarian. And if you don't, for everyone you can't meet, you get a suffering token. Wah. Poop needs. It produces a poop cube. Pretty easy. Play. I just covered it. One imp, play, or it gets a suffering because it's just sad and lonely and just being ignored. Magical needs is for everyone that is above the total value. So again, looking at over here on mine, I have one magical value. If I had one magical need, meaning that icon there, I'm good. I don't need to do anything to offset that. It's when it's bigger than that that problems arise. If it's bigger, it gets a mutation. It either gets eyes or tentacles. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing. Depends on who's wanting to buy the pet. So we'll see. The important thing to note here is if at any point, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. Hold on. Let's skip it. Let's move on. All right. The physical strength of the enclosure. If it's equal to or lower, no worries. If it's bigger, then you got to send imps to go catch them. So you remember the imp that hung out. One imp equals one strength point. But that only helps one animal, one pet. And what happens with it? It goes to the hospital because it gets injured. So that's how they end up in the hospital. All right. If you don't have enough imps held back to offset the difference, your pet is lost and you become sad. And it costs you 1 point for every 10 that you've scored through the game. But you feel bad. That's worse.
Yeah.
Danielle, you feel bad. Thank you.
I have 3 cats.
I know! You'll feel terrible, right? All right. So again, I've already covered disease. That's fine. And that is a wild or a potion. It just ignores one of the needs. Okay? Now, I mentioned earlier, if you get 2 mutation tokens, what happens? You lose your pet. But you don't have to feel sad about it.
It's going to the farm.
No, it's going to a different dimension. And in theory, it's happy. So that's fine. There you go.
Sure.
Okay.
It's going to
Now,
run the Avengers.
But doesn't something else happen too?
no.
That more meat came out.
No, that's a separate thing. We'll get there.
Okay.
Suffering tokens. If a pet ever has more suffering tokens than it has years. So this is size 2 or age 2. If I ever get 2 or more suffering tokens, it dies. Now you really feel bad, and again, you lose 1 point for every 10 you've scored. Okay, and that's what that shows there. Oh, also, on the mutation, you also lose 1 point for every 10 as well. But you don't have to feel sad about it, because that one went to a happy place. Okay? All right, so then, after all that, we have showing off. Showing off is preliminary scoring. That's going to be this. So at the beginning of a round, we're going to flip over the next fare as well as the next customer so you have plenty of time to prepare for it. The icon up here in the top left shows how many pets are going to be shown off for this. In other words, this shows 1, so it's 1 enclosure. You're going to choose 1 pet, then your need cards. However many need cards that you've played that match that icon, you're going to score 2 points for each of those, positively. And this is this is fair points, not reputation points, okay? Then, for every suffering token that animal has is a -1. So if you had 2 food icons, that'd be positive. 2 times 2 is 4. Minus, if you had 1 suffering, -1, that would be 3. You would then get 3 up on the track there. And if you went there, you will have gotten 2 more and go like so. All that makes sense? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then, after all of us have done that, then first place is 8, 6, 4, and 2. You have to have gotten off 0 to have been able to score. If, however, you are tied, like so, you -1 for every other person that you're tied there. So in that case, it is the lower number -1, so that would be 5. Good?
Okay.
All right? It's not an add and divide type thing.
And you take the lower
Different.
number.
You take the
And-
lower
So not
number.
first minus
that's,
1.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was
But
like, shouldn't be 7?
second
Hold on.
minus 1?
Let me double check. No,
That was the
I want to make
confusion
sure.
face. I was
Sorry.
like, wait.
Feel free to chime in if y'all know.
I think he's right. It's just me.
All right, here we
So
go.
mean.
It is, if tied, receive the reputation award for that place reduced by 1. So no, it is 7.
7 points.
Okay.
All right.
It would be 5. In this case, it would be 6 points each because
There we
it's
go.
-1 for every.
Okay,
Okay,
there we
cool,
go.
good.
Good.
All right, good.
I don't hate that.
Okay, all right, good to know. Appreciate. All right, then after that we got business in phase 5. Phase 5 only happens in round 3, round 4, and then in 5 business is going to happen twice. Everybody may sell 1 pet per customer. Okay? In addition to that, you are not allowed to sell a pet until it is size 4 or higher. If you take a look at the pets themselves here, you'll notice that it shows when you are on 2, no, you can't sell. 3, you can't sell. Oh, hey, that icon went away. Now you can sell. In addition to that, when you sell, you're going to get that amount of cash in gold, but in it also, you're going to hopefully score a whole lot of points. How do you score points? We're going to, at the end of a round, we're going to clear off all of our need cards for that pet, for each of our pets. But when you play the need cards for that pet that round, then we're going to look at this. For every play symbol, you're going to score 2 points. And for every food symbol, you're going to score 1 point. Those are positive. For every aggressive and suffering token, so every icon and every token, those will count negatively for you. And then, remember I mentioned about the platform for selling? That platform for selling, whatever that number is there, you're going to multiply it by 2. Unless you have somebody on the platform, multiply it by 3 and score that many victory points. And obviously get rid of that pet because it now has a new owner. You sold it. Rinse and repeat, do that 5 times. Gonna be able to sell 2 pets there to each of those. Then we go into final scoring. We'll cover final scoring later. You know what? We'll do it now. That's fine.
Good timing.
All right. There's effectively going to be 2 different fairs here, and I want to make sure I get this right. Here we go. The exhibitions or fairs are scored separately. In each one, you count up everybody's exhibition score, then compare their minion figures on the tent. So what does that mean? These exhibitions push those forward, right? So we're going to have 1 exhibition for this, push that forward, score it, reset it. Score this one, push those forward, score it. And that's final scoring. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So now, with that said, here we go. For every gold that you have left, score a half point. For every basic thing that you have left or on your board, score a point. For every relative that you don't have, meaning these, or I will double check about the hospital as well, you lose 2 points. Okay, again, these aren't victory points, these are fair points. Then, this is for every pet you have left over, 2 points. For every enclosure and addition, 1 point. For every mutation, every manure, and every suffering, lose a point. Okay? All right. A couple more things, and then we'll get started. First off, the last phase I didn't cover, which is phase 6, which is aging. All your pets get age 1 more. Then, all your food ages 1 if it ever hits the end or goes off the board, as it were. It then goes back to the supply. Your imps return home. However, before all of this happens, any imps that you have left over that didn't go shopping, that didn't help with play, and didn't help recover any lost pets, any of them left over can then clean 2 manure from empty cages. They cannot go into cages or with pets. So if there's an empty enclosure. It has 1 or 2 manure. You and imp can go and clean it. Lastly, any imps that are left over after all of that, get it digging for gold. So I guess technically, gold diggers. There you go. Whoever has the most points wins. 5 rounds. Boom. Done. Any questions? No. Good. No, seriously. Any questions?
Nah.
Oh, and this goes clockwise. There you go. Did you know that you are 4 times as likely to win your next board game if you like the video you just watched and, subscribe to Heavy Cardboard? Okay, that last bit may not be true, but I just appreciate it. Go check out those other videos while you're here, too. Thanks.